The Arizona fan, by the way, the 252, who's texted us on many things, he had a couple of questions about trying to explain the environments at Big 12 stadiums and as far as the attendance and all that. And yeah, well, there's some big boy stadiums, no question, with Texas and Oklahoma, and Texas Tech is ramping theirs up, getting bigger. I asked him, I said, what is Arizona's capacity? 57,000, which would put it in the higher level, upper level of the Big 12, in that above, depends on how many teams you're talking about. But even in 1998, when we were really good, packed the seats, people would still leave early. And it's one of the things we've discussed about the Pac-12. There are sort of amazing campuses, programs, histories, traditions, academics, all of that, eyeballs. The question, and I even get this from when I discuss things with Pac-12, either fans and or analysts, is they're not so sure how many of those teams are really all in when it comes to playing football. The one thing you can say about everybody in the Big 12, no matter if they've struggled, no matter if they have no big city around them, is there seems to be, without question, a passion across the board when it comes to football, even when things aren't very good. And he also was wondering, I've heard this could be a positive. The late night starts. Somebody's got to put late night games on their network, right? Pac-12 After Dark or whatever. So the late night starts, I've heard that's a good or bad. I don't know. No one's told me that from any of the networks. But who else is going to play 9:30 Central Time anywhere other than the Pac-12 or the Mountain West or other schools and other conferences?
It's not 9:30 there when it starts.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. It's 7:30 there, 9:30 and 10:30 on the East Coast. I don't know how that all works. I would think that actually it could either be looked at as a positive or negative.
That's part of the debate going on, and I see that being used, that window on TV, as a positive for the Pac-12. I think BYU could fill at least a couple of those weeks if they so chose. And, you could round it out. Maybe if you poach those others, then there's your 9:30 window. I don't see what's really hard about that if you're the Big 12. Like, you've got BYU. If you were to add some Pac-12 schools, there's your valuable 9:30 window. I don't know for sure, but I will trust those who are out there, the John Wilners of the world, who are using that as like, hey, this is one thing that's a positive for the Pac-12, but I don't know why that couldn't just be counteracted by having some of those schools and BYU just do the same thing and then also have the rest of the Big 12. I don't know why it's made like that they can only do that or something. I guess because the majority of their schools are out there. In the current configuration, yes, that's their window. But, yeah, how valuable – I mean, is that valuable enough to basically save the conference? And maybe that's too much, but if that's like the driving factor, if that's the leading factor and why right this very moment they are standing a little stronger, then I think that's a little flimsy.
Here's what I don't understand. When USC was in their run, and they've had their various runs, they've had their various runs of a dynasty, so to speak. I didn't care what time they played. I watched them.
Yeah.
So you need to also have some dogs that are, Oregon's had their moment. You have the dogs and a reason to stay up late if you're a college football fan.
There was some USC games on that were Pac-12 After Dark, and I don't know. There's one in particular. I don't remember the pump, but I vividly remember sitting down, and I turned it off after 5 minutes. And I'm as big a college football fan. I love Pac-12 After Dark, but I was like, there was nobody in the stands. USC sucked. They were lame duck coaching staff, and it was like Oregon State or something, which BJ Baylor was fun to watch, but outside of that, I didn't care. But, yeah, I mean, if it's a good product, I'm going to watch it, and no matter what time it's on. And, yeah, I watch a lot of Pac-12 After Dark because it's simply the last thing that's on my TV, the same way Hawaii pulls some ratings just because they're the last thing that's on, So I'm sure there's some great value there. But, again, to what extent, I don't know. And I don't know that, if there's any major difference in having Cal Oregon State at 9:30 available versus having BYU versus Texas Tech. I think BYU versus Texas Tech will probably trounce that game.
Well, and
remember Washington State's not bad.
No, I know. I'm not. And this is not a like. Anytime we make a point, it's not anti-Pac-12 if it's against the Pac-12. It's not anti-Big 12. It's just reality.
But if that's the point, and to hammer kind of home what you said, if the point is that's a big thing, if 4 teams from that time zone come over there, then you have plenty of teams to fill those slots. So it's not something that would not move over. As a matter of fact,
teams in the Central Time Zone are going to have to play out there on occasion.
Oklahoma State goes and plays Arizona in the 9:30 window. Problem solved. I mean, that's why I'm saying I don't really get why that's being held up as like this key part of this 9:30 TV window and its value. Okay, it's valuable, But is it only valuable if it's the Pac-12 schools playing in 9:30, or is it just valuable, period? Because if it's just valuable, period, then I don't know how this is an argument for the Pac-12 other than they just conveniently have the most teams in that window available. But if you are the Big 12 and you were to somehow finagle adding some of those said teams, well, problem solved. You have, a handful of teams, and then you bring up, hey, Baylor, sorry, it sucks to play at 9:30, but you're going to Provo, and you're going to play on Saturday night, and that's part of the deal.
They're kicking at 9 o'clock Provo time this year, aren't they?
I think it is.
Yeah, it's 9 o'clock Provo time when they go out there.
8 o'clock here.
Yeah, so it's
here. Let's hear from some of the fans of the Pac-12 teams, that we've been reading some of that as well. Here's from Redeemed, and we're at the top of the hour. We'll be breaking here in a second. Great point. I'm a Colorado alum, and I question if Colorado is all in on football. I'd have to say in the last 20 years, the answer is no. However, if they ever do go all in, they have enormous potential. That's from a Colorado fan. Now, on and off, of course, they had the McCartney years and a handful of others, but that's from a Colorado fan. Doesn't mean they're a bad school, but that's the question you wonder about the commitment. And maybe they're just in a bad cycle, because even Blue Bloods right now, some of them are in a bad cycle.
Stephen